I'm here at the 2.5-storey house in Stoke Newington. Jack's kindly invited us round. Hi, Jack.
Hello. I think when you come into the house, I think it first of all is an amazing, it's an amazing view into the garden first. There's an awesome light in this area, but I think the thing that is most recognizable, most memorable for people when they come visit is the hallway basically, and the extension that's been that's kind of connected the 3 stories of the house together.
What do you think? And it's quite famous. It's the 2.5-storey house, isn't it? So what aspects of the house that's made it so clever, the architecture? Why is it one of the awards that it has?
So I think to the previous owners, it was a 2-bedroom house. They wanted to extend, and they weren't able to kind of actually extend beyond the limit of where the roof sits under planning permissions. And so I guess creatively had to come up with a solution for how they could build a 3rd bedroom. And so they went back and forth with the architects, BVDS, who took on the challenge and were able to concept something that would work. And so they were able to build a 3rd bedroom in an extension at the kind of highest point, basically below the roof, and ensure that, yes, they could make that extension work. And so, yeah.
I think from an estate agent perspective, we see houses all day long. We see lofts, and stereotypical mansards, they call them. But what struck me here was it's the wedge, it's the angles of the roof. And I think whenever someone comes to visits the housing estate, you'll notice that the houses are all the roofs are they're pitched, but they've managed to put a half a floor with a pitched roof, which I think is really clever.
Yeah. I think a lot of the houses on the estates are kind of longer, and they have therefore a greater pitch than our house. Our house is actually one of 2 of the houses on the estate that's shaped like this, basically, where it's much wider, and therefore it also has, because we also have a very, very blessed to have a front and a back garden.
Yeah.
The actual kind of length of the roof is more narrow, so it doesn't allow you to kind of actually do a dormer that creates as much height as it would on another house on the estate. So with this project, they have built a dormer. We've built a dormer. A dormer has been built basically on the roof.
Yeah.
But creatively, they've had to make that work so that the ceiling of the bedroom below the extended room into the 3rd bedroom forms a platform basically that we put a bed on. That's an awesome place for our 3-year-old to kind of call his bedroom and play with his toys on the platform. I think to have most of the corridors and also the top bedroom completely clad in ply makes the house feel very individual. And I think the ply itself also feels really warm, has an awesome texture to it, and actually you kind of see from the exposed edges of the ply as well some really intricate design details that form some of the shelving in the top bedroom, staircases, and so that in itself I think is the thing that struck me when I first came in and I first noticed. And I think they did an amazing job with what was a very complex architectural challenge to solve in terms of the extension, and they felt like they had to execute the plan to millimeter perfection upstairs, and they kind of have done. And I think even
they've nailed it.
They've nailed it,
nailed it.
Even after 5 years of kind of living here, you notice lots of little touches that perhaps you hadn't appreciated before.
Yeah.
And also just, really helpful places to put your phone, and really helpful integrated cupboards and storage space that you just wouldn't expect to find in a house like this. So yeah, I'm eternally grateful for the amazing work that the guys at BVS did, and it's been an amazing house to live in. Yeah.
What are your favourite ways to enjoy the house?
I mean, it's an amazing house to host people. I think living downstairs, first of all, I think the garden and the kitchen living room that we have here feel very integrated together. So in summer, you can really kind of push back the windows and you can kind of feel like you have people inside and outside, and there isn't as much of a division between those two things, which is really nice. So it's a real nice place to have friends to come and visit. Obviously, when we had it as a guest room, it was also a super nice place to be able to welcome guests and have them stay. I think the kids really like the first floor. So before bath time, the kids will run between the bathroom and the bedroom that sits on that floor. And again, with the light that comes in, it kind of creates a really nice like energy and feeling basically in the family. So I'd say those are the nicest points.
I noticed you got a big green egg in your garden. How often do you fire it up?
Not as much in winter as I would like, but in summer, certainly before kids, more prevalent, but more frequent. But yeah, I'd say be time soon. It'll be time soon to get it going.
What do you love about living here and the neighbourhood around you?
I think even in the 5 years that we've lived in Stoke Newington, it's been ever changing. There are kind of new businesses, small businesses that set up. There are small businesses that kind of close, but it creates a real feeling of movement and vibrancy. It's a very multicultural area. I think that Stoke Newington has the highest density of top quality pubs. I'm sure people will contest that claim, but of anywhere I know, we have Lonsborough, the Prince, the Shakespeare, Jolly Butcher, the Axe, the White Hart, which is great for football, the Three Crowns, which does jazz on a Saturday, the Old Shillelagh, how could I forget? Like, there's just too many to name. And so, yeah, it's somewhere that every weekend, without having to travel very far, you can kind of walk out onto Church Street, onto the high street and just go and meet friends, have a good time.
It's the bit you're going to miss.
That's the bit I will miss.
You're going to miss that bit.
The most, yes. And I'd say the other thing about the area is it's so close. It's a bus ride or it's a cycle ride to Angel, to Highbury, to Clapton. All these places nearby just mean that actually, without having to travel very far, you get all these really amazing neighbourhoods nearby. So
fantastic.
Spoiled for choice.
How would you sum up what it's like to live in this house?
I think this house has been a kind of real perfect house for us, our kind of stage of life with young kids. There's lots of families in similar situations on the estate who and the kids in summer play out together on the communal areas. The amazing thing about an estate like this that was designed in the 1980s under the plans at the time was there was a real focus on space and communal areas, and there's the TRA, which is the Tenants and Residents Association, who work very closely together to create community events and work very hard to make sure that the estate is maintained as well as possible. So the estate and the environment and the community have all been a really important part of our experience here. But I think the house itself, as I said before, it keeps you guessing, it keeps bringing surprises, and it's a real joy to kind of bring people around and show them the space. So I'd say, to summarize, it's just been an awesome spot for us basically to have come in basically in our early 30s without too much responsibility, and then gradually grow that responsibility and set up with a young family. So yeah.
Well, I hope we do it justice and find a buyer that really loves it as much as you guys have.
Yes, me too.
What I did notice, Jack, having a little walk around the estate, there's lots of other buildings and that have also been quite creative with architecture. So there's been homeowners that are trying to improve their homes. Have you noticed that evolution since you've been here? More homes using clever architecture to improve? Yeah,
I think like there's been a big move around trying to improve rather than moving. I think the architect at BVDS, George, who did the work basically to kind of work on the architectural problem, working on the architecture of the house, actually lived on the estates as well. And there are a number of houses actually on this estate specifically that have had some really interesting work done to them.
We noticed. Yeah.
So yes, it's definitely something we're seeing more and more. And I think space in Stoke Newington is at a premium. So people work very hard to try and create more space and create more inventive and creative living spaces in this area for sure.
I'm a big fan of this era. You know, I grew up
Yeah.
in a 1980s house. You know,
Yeah.
so you walked in and the kitchen was upstairs, and it was weird. The bedrooms were downstairs. But then, you know, if you think about creativity, and if you think about materials, and if you think about novel ways of living, you know, I think the 1980s does that. You know, and you can tell in the architecture how clever they've been with the architecture, how clever they've been with the design. They've kind of incorporated all that novelty that came into the 80s and created this beautiful space.
Yeah, I really like the brickwork and the layout of this estate, and I think it's also really nice to have the kind of uniformity that you do as well,
Yeah.
kind of walking around. And I think, you know, the estate has had an interesting history as well. And I think this house also feels like, in some ways, it's uniform amongst the architecture that exists elsewhere, but actually the interior really does feel like you're entering something completely different to the exterior. So it's been a nice kind of surprise to be able to kind of show that to people who might cycle through the estate to travel from A to B, and then suddenly, they get to kind of experience the interior of the house and see how unique it is.
Yeah, I think that's the bit we're most looking forward to.
Yeah.
Looking at people's faces as they walk in, because it's beautiful, you know, and they're gonna be surprised by what they see when they come inside.
I think so.
Jack, thank you very much.
No worries. Really, thank you for hosting this.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.